This is Speaking of Sports, a weekly podcast where we give you our take on sports' biggest stories and news. I'm your host, Ray Scipione, along with Coach Al Harris, Chad the Whiz Kid Grimley, and the Godfather, Chuck Grimley. Speaking of Sports is sponsored by Grimley Financial and produced by WildfirePodcast.com.
Hello, everybody. Hope you are all doing well on this beautiful Friday morning here. It's Chad. I'm here with Coach Al and the Godfather, Chuck. Now, before we get started today, make sure, if you haven't, you subscribe to the show and follow us on Twitter at Speaking of Sports. We're going to dive right in with the Philly Five today, a couple minutes on the major Philly sports teams.
We got some news.
So why don't we start with the Sixers today, because there was some big news yesterday that came out. Well, maybe not shocking news. Harden is expected to pick up his $47 million player option for next season. Not really a surprise there. Not sure why he wouldn't do that. But maybe the more surprising part, the Sixers are expected to sign him to a short-term deal. They're saying around 2 years or so. Not that maybe 4 to 5 year deal we talked about maybe happening early, a couple months ago. Now a shorter deal.
Yeah, the 2 year deal after that, he can opt out from the 3 years he has till June 29th. And they're talking about if he opts and signs for the 2 years, it'll be $50 million a year. So that's the way it stands right now.
Why? What are they saying? What am I missing?
Well, that Harden will be willing to not go to 3 years because they want to cut down.
But $50 million for sure next year.
That's what they're.
Is it
no 47.5 this year? Right.
Us finance guys round up.
Yeah.
Is it the same James Harden I saw in the playoffs? Is it that guy?
It's that guy, but they're going to say he's going to come back 100% healthy. He's in the best shape he's ever been. You're going to hear that.
He's not going to age.
He's aged already.
Because age has nothing to do with, nor does his nightlife, right? He's not committed to winning. And I'll tell you what I think it is. Tell me if you disagree. That's why we have a podcast. It's the end of Joel Embiid. It's the end. There's no way Embiid is encouraged by that news.
Not only that, we've spoken before that Embiid might have a 2 or 3 year thing here, but all the times he's hit the floor and injuries and so forth. So you got to take advantage of when he's in his prime right now. And I don't think it's going to be with Harden.
Is it remotely possible, Chad, that the Sixers organization has an eye on moving Embiid for the vast amount of talent he could bring?
I don't think they'll move Embiid. I don't think he's going anywhere. I mean, he is an MVP candidate. He could almost win MVP this year. I don't think he's going anywhere. Last year, James Harden, he's going to make $47 million player option for next season. Last year, he was the second highest paid player in the NBA, tied with John Wall, who didn't play. And next year, he's scheduled to remain the second highest paid player in the NBA behind Steph Curry. And we're not getting anywhere close to a second player in the league performance.
There are, like war in baseball, there are efficiency numbers that we won't bore you with in basketball that gets into the advanced stats. If you take his low efficiency numbers and divide it by his salary, he's by far the most overpaid player in the NBA, and it's not close to the second guy. I've done this math. I mean, it's just absolutely outrageous.
One word you won't hear in any of that is it's a bargain.
Yeah, there's no bargain.
No.
Jimmy, what do you think, bud?
Well, I think keeping him is the only way they have a chance of winning a championship. They're going to try to go get Bradley Beal, in my opinion, which is going to cost them maxi. I think you need a three-headed monster in the NBA.
Well, nobody's going to argue that.
And Tobias Harris is not that third guy, and Maxi's not that third guy, at least for the next couple of years. So I think Bradley Beal is on their radar, and I think that's their plan is to have those three guys.
With one of those other guards that do shoot 37, 38, 39%.
Yeah, some vet
you can live with.
minimum deals.
Yeah, and that's their path to a championship. Yeah, never happened.
So the Golden State Warriors just won their fourth title now in 8 years since we're on the NBA topic.
And the three guys, yep.
They have the big three, right there, and they've had them for a long time now. And turnovers was a really big reason why the Warriors won. Through 5 games, the Warriors had 103 points off turnovers, which is, close to 20 points a game. And another reason is Jason Tatum. In the fourth quarter, this is how he performed.
This is unbelievable.
Fourth quarter, game 1, 0 points. 2, 0 points. Game 3, 8 points. Game 4, 3 points. Game 5, 5 points.
No,
Game
you're
6, 2 points.
You're reading Harden's numbers.
No. Jason Tatum in the
Or Ben
fourth quarter,
Simmons.
just phenomenal. I mean, he's been so good all year, and even in the postseason, what we saw him do against Miami, and he comes out and just the fourth quarter, just they Warriors to shut him down.
Well, they also have the 10th wonder of the world. I mean, what Curry does in postseason, and then he comes off a bad game, so to speak, and everybody's already predicting what he'll do the next game because he came off a subpar game. He just cannot defend the guy. He's beyond
Curry was
description.
0 for 5 in Game 5 from three-point range,
right.
and the whole team actually didn't hit a three other than
That was crazy.
other
I
than
think
Wiggins.
Wiggins,
And the
okay.
Warriors still won, which is
Yeah.
phenomenal.
That's where I was just going to go. It was really a coming out party for Andrew Wiggins. He was never meant to be that, at Towns, at Milwaukee and so forth. But he has fit in there so well, knowing that he can be the third or fourth scorer. They didn't realize he might be their best defensive player now, and he did a job on Tatum. And Tatum come up really lame with the turnovers, besides not be able to shoot.
That's a great point, and the reason you have fourth quarter stats like you do on Tatum and many, many other guys, they show the fourth quarter. When they ramp up that defensive intensity, Al, I mean, they're already phenomenal athletes, but when they ratchet up that defense, when the game's on the line, the last 4 minutes, and they're in your grill, beyond the arc, and when you go through a ball screen, somebody's already flashed and picked you up, how tough is it in that situation to get free to score, and yet somehow Curry managed to, maneuver all that stuff and hit bottom cord 3. It's incredible.
There's no one better than Curry.
We said
Now,
Wiggins
yesterday-
has been with the club a long time. Isn't Wiggins a new pickup for the yeah, I think he was.
Yeah, he hasn't been there too long.
Oh, okay, I thought you said
Yeah.
earlier the big 3 that have been there for
No, that would be Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, and Curry.
Oh,
Yeah, no.
no,
No,
Draymond-
some of us follow the NBA more than just the playoffs, but that's all right. All right, let's talk about the Eagles.
Yowza.
The Eagles got a
There's don't we have a Yowza thing on the board? Good one, buddy.
the Eagles have a new word mark yesterday, which is
That's
probably
funny.
a new term for most people. I didn't know what word mark really meant, so we looked it up. We have it on our screen in front of us here. Basically, they just changed the type of wording, like the font, essentially, for the Eagles versus the traditional one where it's kind of curved, arched, has some jagged edges in the top corners. Now it's just a very basic Eagles with a little bit of a cutout in the E's. It looks like they had like a 10-year-old do it here in grammar school or something.
This is Lori's son's first job,
First
right.
job.
and he's completely butchered it.
You know
Yeah.
what's scary? There is someone in the Eagles organization marketing or
loved
some
it.
consulting firm
That loved
that just made $150,000 a year to do this.
That's
and
true.
that may be low.
That may be cheap.
They
That's
may be
cheap,
making
yeah.
200-300 grand to
that-
do this. this.
What do you think about this, Dad?
buck-
It's okay.
Yeah, 150 was the retainer.
Yeah,
that was
right?
part 1. Yeah.
I mean, how? Like, this is all they got. It looks terrible.
Are we being a bit unfair? Is it that bad?
Yeah, it's awful. What? How is this
Is
like
it awful?
inspiring to let's get up and fight? It's the Eagles with a little cutout in the E, like representing a wing. It
No.
looks so bad. It's so basic. I mean,
They're
it looks
trying to make it look more futuristic.
in like just looking at it. Not if it wasn't the Eagles, yeah, it's cool writing and it's fine. But in terms of the NFL like hype and getting you ready to play, it looks awful.
The old one is right below it, right?
Yeah, the old one's below.
So the old one has the extensions gone, at least on the left side. Oh, I'll forget that point. Anyway, you don't? Yeah, you're right.
Well,
Don't
the
love
old
it.
one is a logo. This is a word mark.
Yeah,
A word mark. That's the
Yeah.
new marketing term that got that person paid a whole bunch of money to do a whole bunch of nothing.
Yeah, it's his kid.
When you use
I-
word mark, add 2 or 3
See,
zeros.
here's what I think happened.
Hey,
I
Dad, wait
think,
till you see this.
I think when the off season came, they said, "Hey," they had their think group. They said, "Hey, we need this new logo writing," and they're like, "Oh, someone's like, I got this." The deadline was yesterday, and they forgot about it. They woke up yesterday, they came in, they saw on their calendar, new word mark due, and they said, oh, crap, I don't know what that is. I haven't done it. They typed up Eagles. They removed a little thing. They said, bam,
Coach,
here it is. I worked 100 hours on this.
Coach, is he a little extra fired up this week? Yeah.
And then
your Wheaties,
and
bud.
Julian said, this is fantastic. Dad, you're going to love this.
Jimmy, we're waiting for that buzzer because
We are.
we don't need much more than a word.
All I got to say is I'm in the wrong business, and so I
Yeah.
made $150K
Right?
to make that.
Aren't we all are. Every one of us is. The Phillies. Last top. Oh, we do have to do the Flyers too. The Phillies here. Listen to this stat. The Phillies have allowed 138 runs in the 9th inning since the start of the 2020 season, which, of course, is the most in baseball. The Reds are second with 121, and you never want to be compared with the Reds right now. And with that in mind, it is perhaps not a surprise that the Phillies currently have the 5th most team losses after leading in baseball this year with 15. So 15 games where the team was leading and they blew the game. That's just, it really shows that first stat, the 138 runs, how much they need a really strong closer and how much they've hurt not having that guy to rely upon.
Yeah, the team, they didn't think they needed elite level, a complete shutdown guy, and it's not only been the Achilles heel, but it's been the difference in the playoffs. These stats tell you through 6 innings, the Phillies have been winning a lot of baseball games the last 2-3 years. Then you look at the 9th inning run production against. It doesn't point to anything but a competent bullpen. And this is the 4th year we've gone through. Look at who we signed. The kid from the Mets, familiar. I confuse him with a restaurant.
I'm too familiar with that name.
Yeah, too familiar with him, right? And when they sign him, he's not the answer. And we spend the first 3 months just watching, unbelievable poor production and losing games that you should win. And they haven't, to say ignored it, no, they've signed guys, but you knew coming in these were not the right guys. So I, in that sense, say ignored quality guys coming in. When you look back in the back of the baseball card, you saw very impressive numbers, and they're coming in hot off those numbers. We've signed guys coming in off a 5.65 ERA, but the year before that he was better. And we're hoping he returns to that level, and they don't because they're getting older. But that's been unbelievable, a problem for the last 3 years.
Yeah, with David Robertson a couple of years ago.
That was a bad
stats.
break.
Yep.
Yeah, that was terrible, man. This guy comes in with 10 years, right, of 2.5 ERA, and then breaks down.
Was there something in last Sunday's baseball game with Mike Schmidt going on with the bases loaded that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think Schmitty's back in the days that he played and hasn't made the adjustments. Help me out with the situation.
I think if I remember correctly, when we were talking about this, there were the bases loaded.
Oh, yeah, I'm with you, but
a line drive to Bohm at third in the first inning.
I'm sorry, I sent this to you. Yeah, okay. Line drive right at him. And Schmitty said, he may have wanted to consider dropping it there. And my phone blew up, 20 people sent me. Do you believe he just said this? The umpires are really good at that. They may miss balls and strikes, but they're really good at that. Yeah, they're never going to allow any type of decoy play. That may work in T-ball for sure and up to AAA ball in Little League. No professional is ever going to drop a line drive intentionally right in front of them, and the runners are going to react to that and take off. You get a triple play, and it's not the only thing. Schmidt the week before said it. The ball that went out at Citizens Bank. If that were at the vet, and he did understand that the vet dimensions were smaller than Citizens, but every week he says a few things that are just off the mark. You with me on that?
Yeah,
Coach?
if you pay attention, there's usually one thing every week.
Every week.
But he's so revered in town and so forth, and this they just let it go.
He could say
I
the
guess.
sky is like orange.
Yeah.
Or any color. Blue. Oh, it is blue. anything. They'd believe him.
He could say he was abducted by aliens.
He would. And they'd
Oh,
believe
wait,
him.
that was
Now,
Dalton. Sorry.
if there was one person in the MLB who could get away with intentionally dropping a line drive, though, it would be Alec Bohm. Because he can't catch anything. So, in Schmitty's defense, if there's one person who can maybe pull it off, it's Bohm.
The umpires would huddle and say, well, no, he stinks.
He's shaky, you know. He might be.
He drops a big. It's as if Schmidt hasn't evolved with the game or hasn't watched it in 15 years, to think that the umpires, it was right at him. If you get a backhand, extend it, and you catch it and drop it, there could be some degree of uncertainty, but this is a ball that's routine. You're never going to ever get away with something like that. And Schmidt has to be more sophisticated, and I'll tell you who else is getting on my nerves is Kruk, and just all the anyway, what's
I have
next?
one thing to say. This is all totally unprepared. It's Chad Durbin who's in there with Scott Fransky, right? Now, I like Chad Durbin. He seems like a good speaker and stuff, but he really has to stop with commenting on how hard every single ball was hit. I heard a foul ball the other day, and he goes, oh, it's a foul ball hit at 42.1 miles per hour. Chad, no one cares.
Yeah.
It's a foul ball. Like, unless it's drilled at 105 or 10, like, stop telling us how hard every single ball was hit.
It would have been 42 miles an hour. That's not remarkable. It would have to be over 110 or even.
What do you mean?
Not 42.
42.
No, that's what he did. That's what Chad Durbin did. That's a foul ball. He goes, it's at a 42.1 miles per hour.
Well, must have hit the dead end of the bat then and just dribbled.
It was like a terrible. He's obsessed with telling people how hard every single ball was hit. Listen to it.
Well, they have 2 or 3 other guys they're rotating besides Durbin, too. So
Yeah. All right, John Tortorella, new Flyers coach. Is a 4-year deal. Most recently, he was with the Columbus Blue Jackets for 6 seasons before joining the Flyers here now. He had a lot of success with the Blue Jackets with a record of 227 wins, 166 losses there, making him the winningest coach in franchise history. Coach Al or Jim, the producer, what are your thoughts on this guy?
Well, that ain't saying much since Columbus sucked for their entire duration of
how do you
being
really
around.
feel, Jim?
This is a bad hire. They really screwed this one up. They hired an outside firm, according to some sources, to find the best candidates. The best candidate was Trotz. They wanted Trotz. Trotz didn't want them. So they were like, oh, poop. We need to find somebody. So they went and I think they wanted Cassidy, but he got snatched up by Vegas. So now they're going with Tortorella, who's, if you look at his superstars that he's coached, have all regressed. When he got to Tampa Bay, he had a stacked team. That's why he won a Stanley Cup. After that, LeCavier, St. Louis, all their stats went down. I don't like this hire. I think it's going to be a complete disaster. It's a 4-year deal. This team's in a lot of trouble for a long time.
I think you're right, Jim, but the only thing is you're saying he brought down superstars. Well, that doesn't happen with the Flyers because they don't have any superstars.
Correct.
Bingo. Great.
Yeah, there's only one way to go for the Flyers is up. So, I mean,
I did mention last week about Cassidy, and Jim and I talked before the show that he was with the Boston Bruins 6 straight years in the playoffs, and he would be a hot commodity. And, boy, he got snatched up within a few days.
Yeah, their problem's a 6-letter word. I don't have to say what it is, right? I think talent's a 6-letter
Is,
word.
yeah, that's it
And,
is.
and the coach is not going to change that. Better effort. I think some of the players take as an insult. Like if a guy comes in and screams at us, we're suddenly going to be 20% better. I think their work ethic's probably good. I think it's just talent.
no, I think their work ethic sucks.
Do you?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they don't.
I should have kept my
If
mouth
you
shut.
watch some of the games
I
last
don't.
year,
I haven't
Al will
watched.
attest.
Yeah.
It looked like an AHL team
Okay,
playing
well,
out there. They had
then
no
that-
gusto.
Then that does leave room then for a hard-nosed coach.
Yeah, and look, it's like I said, there's only one way to go. So
Yeah.
if they improve, it's going to look good, but they're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
They'd have been a little, Jim, I'm sure you're a little bit better if Ellis, who they were looking to pair with, he was hurt all year, and Hayes being hurt 2 or 3 times. Been a little better, but they still don't have, like you said, any superstars.
I have an idea. Why don't we diary this for 5 years and pick it up in our podcast in 2000? 27.
See if they've
the hockey
improved.
segment is the highest rated segment on this show. All right? I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, Jim listens from 10 devices at one time to get it there.
Jim, get out.
He almost,
Is that right?
He almost sold that. He had a very believable
nice, right?
look at it. Yeah. What do we got, Wiz?
Let's start with, I'm going to call it topic 0 today because I have it under the NFL news and we kind of bounced around.
Okay.
Tyreek Hill, earlier this week, said that the Dolphins quarterback, where he now plays, Tyreek Hill came from the Chiefs, is a more accurate passer than Patrick Mahomes, the superstar quarterback for the Chiefs. And now the Chiefs are now going to struggle without Hill, and that he was underused in 2021, despite Tyreek Hill having a career-high 111 catches last year. A lot of weird comments coming out here. I think Mahomes actually said that he was, or someone in the Chiefs said he was maybe doing it to like promote his podcast, get some ratings, things like that. Look, who knows? But let's look at the numbers since we're on the topic. Mahomes, yeah, right. Mahomes last year had a 66.3% completion percentage, and Tua had a 67.8%.
I was shocked right there. Hard stop. I was shocked at that part.
It is surprising.
You watched it?
Yeah, but I think maybe Tua with a lot of shorter
Looks like a
passes
high
and little
school.
rollouts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
He looks
there's
like a high school
there's way
quarterback.
more deep attempts for Mahomes, given he had Tyreek Hill to throw to. Now, career, Mahomes is 66.1 and Tua is 66.2. They're dead even.
Also shocking.
Yeah, for looking at the 2021 quarterback ratings, though, this is where it goes right back to Mahomes. Mahomes is obviously has a higher quarterback rating, a higher career quarterback rating. There's no doubt about that. The last thing to say is in 2021, from a 1 to a 15-yard pass, Mahomes was 69% versus Tua was 66%, so Mahomes was better at the short passes. And on the long passes, Mahomes was 42%, 15 yards in the air or more. Mahomes was 42% and Tua was 48%. But again, Mahomes has more attempts. He's throwing the Tyreek Hill down the field a lot more.
But Tua's higher.
Tua's higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's got the speed? Who's got the deep threat? Mahomes.
Mahomes.
Yeah.
Well, not now.
I
No,
found
not anymore.
Yeah, no, but I found this whole body of evidence here quite shocking. I heard the comment. I scrambled to take a look at the math, and I was very surprised. I know who I'm taking to build around if I'm starting a team tomorrow. Who are you taking?
Oh, Mahomes, there's no doubt.
Al?
And there's a big word,
Jim?
escapability here,
Yeah.
and Mahomes might be the best at that.
What Mahomes can do on that field is it's unbelievable. When I think it was the Super Bowl a couple of years ago when he was running, I think he ran like 500 yards or something.
I think it was 11
the
second
entire game
scramble.
just running around the field. I mean,
Yeah.
the way he maneuvers the field is something just to marvel at.
But them losing Hill this year is going to
Yeah,
be a huge
yeah,
it
hit.
is.
no
I
doubt,
mean,
no
he
doubt.
is the best wide receiver in the league,
No,
in
no,
my opinion.
Insane.
Not only that, but with that world-class track speed, that makes everybody just back up a little bit. Because the one thing these guys hate to have happen is like a pitcher giving up a grand slam. You know, they'll never forget it, you know. But when they get beat deep, the defensive backs, they really, really hate for obvious reasons. When you get these fast guys, you can see it against the Eagles. They just drop back more than they should, and they throw underneath. And I just think the Eagles' corners and safety, I always think they play too deep. How soft does the under canopy look against the Eagles all the time, you know?
What you have to hope this year is a little more defensive line help, and Reddick and other linebackers, that they'll be able to put more pressure where they won't have to play off them
Yeah,
as much. Maybe
that's a
they
great
can
point.
pinch them a little bit.
Yep.
That's a great point.
No, that's so there are some really good benefits when you have some speedy receivers out there. We certainly saw it with Deshaun Jackson for a couple years when he was with the Eagles. So looking ahead or looking, that's perfect timing.
Right on schedule today.
Because that transition that I had was absolutely terrible, didn't make any sense. Looking ahead to what? Next week's show. So in Wednesday's game,
LaRussa said you made less sense last week.
yeah, well, I think he's not making sense anymore.
He's never told a lie either.
In Wednesday's game against the Rangers, this is really, really something here. The Houston starter, Luis Garcia, and then the reliever, Phil Maton, each threw an immaculate inning, which is 9 pitches and 3 strikeouts. So pitcher goes in, 9 pitches, 3 strikeouts. Next inning, 9 pitches, 3 strikeouts. There have only been 106 recorded immaculate innings in Major League history, and Wednesday was the first time there have been 2 on the same day.
And I'm blown away by that, too, with all the great pitching. And I know that's very difficult. But when you think it's
Nolan
happened.
Ryan, Seaver, somebody in there.
Right. I've seen guys getting groove and strike out the side, bam, bam, bam. You think it's happening?
Yeah, strike
a lot.
out the side. I
Yeah,
think when they're
I know,
0-2,
straight
that
through,
next
yeah.
pitch it's a waste pitch a lot of times. They're maybe
Yeah.
trying to throw something low and away, up in. It's something they can't hit.
Yes,
And-
I appreciate the utter scarcity of it. Was
It's just phenomenal there to think how that actually happened. And it was funny. When it happened, Garcia, they didn't even know. He said, I was talking to the guys in the dugout, and everyone erupted, and
That's
Garcia goes,
funny.
what happened?
what happened? He said, "What I do."
Now,
I think
this
the Phillies this year might have had some innings where 3 batters with 12 balls in a row. Is that being this conversation?
that should be.
Yeah, and it's. I was remiss not to bring it up about the bullpens. They throwing strikes the last 4 years. Can't get guys to consistently come in and throw strikes. You have a 2-run lead. You walk the first 2 guys, and you're like, how do you do it anyway?
It's so cool to see how quickly pro sports react to things. By the time that game was over, both pitchers had the baseballs from their Immaculate innings in their lockers with the authentication stickers right on them. I mean, the MLB doesn't waste any time. That's just so cool how they get that tuned up and ready to go in just, a handful of minutes. They have everything totally finalized and ready there.
Because of those authenticators, you were able to get the ball from A-Rod. That was the
Yes.
guy sitting there, and they gave it to the usher.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was the authenticator.
So this is another really cool topic here. MLB prospect Herangelo Saintcha.
Oh, good luck with that name.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Very nice.
You didn't give that to me.
Close
anyway.
enough.
I think I got it. I did listen to some videos. I'm pretty sure that they actually call him Low. For her first name, Herangelo, they just call him Low. Is what I'm
The
hearing.
good
in the
news
videos.
is our listeners, I don't think will know any difference
Yeah.
on this. Yeah.
So he's a high schooler. He's a switch pitcher from Florida. He naturally throws left-handed, but because this guy is so talented, he also throws right-handed. And apparently, he has even better stuff as a righty.
Crazy.
So a couple days ago, he's in a prospect game. He struck out 5 of the 6 hitters he faced in the 3rd inning. 2 as a lefty, 3 as a righty, and then he did give up 1 walk as a lefty. Now, as a righty, his fastball has ranged from 94 to 96, and he's in high school. And as a lefty, it's 88 to 92. I mean, that's just phenomenal right there to have that much speed and power, be able to do it from both sides, and he's in high school.
Started at 6 years old, huh?
Yeah. He started throwing right-handed at 6 years old because
Sorry, bud.
he wanted to copy his father, who played professionally in the Netherlands, and he liked wearing his dad's gloves. So he said, hey, what the hell? Let me throw right-handed. And then his dad actually hammered nails into baseballs and had Lowe throw at a tire to try to get the ball to stick, which was a drill designed to improve your accuracy. So he's just gone to a whole nother level now. I mean, he did gain some notoriety in 2016. He pitched for Caraco in the 2016 Little League World Series. Here he is now, 2022, a couple years later. Sounds like he's definitely going to be a early round draft pick. I think they're saying first 5 to 10 rounds or so. And, the sky's the limit for this guy. I mean, you're really hoping the best, but it's so hard in
He
baseball.
still has to pitch.
You still have to pitch. Yep.
The fact you throw from both hands means you get a beat from both.
Yep.
I mean, he has to pitch. That's the hard part.
Well, the cobwebs in the back just woke up a little bit. In the 1950s, the Little League World Series, and we all know that Delaware Township, even though the plaque up there says
Or at
Merchantville
least-
because of the post office box, Mexico City had a kid named Angel Mejias, and he threw left-handed and he threw right-handed.
Did it? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
The most shocking thing about this story is that there's
Albers.
professional baseball in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
I never,
Yeah,
I
never
didn't know
knew.
that either. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I noticed that. Anyway, good luck to Durango Salanti.
But real quick, there was another pitcher who pitched with both hands. There's a video on YouTube, and now there's a rule in place where you have to declare what you're pitching
Right.
Yes.
because they kept going back and forth because
Yes.
they're going up against a switch hitter,
Right.
and they kept going
Yeah.
back and forth.
Yeah, that
So-
was a couple years ago. The pitcher was hovering off. You can't be on the rubber. Once you get on the rubber, you can't switch gloves.
right.
And so he was standing off of the rubber, and the batter, once you get in the box, you can't switch sides. So they were both staring at each other, waiting for someone to make a move. It's hilarious. It's a
hilarious.
good video to check out.
I feel like Schmitty today. You guys really don't need me.
It's a good video to check out. Now, staying on the topic of pitchers, and this one is so tough to share. Miles Michaelis, Cardinals pitcher, he lost a no-hitter with 2 outs and 2 strikes in the 9th inning against the Pirates on Tuesday. Now, honestly, watching the replay of this, it really is devastating as a Cardinals fan and really just a baseball fan in general. St. Louis was home. It's a 2-2 count. The entire stadium is on their feet and going crazy. He throws, in my opinion, what is a very terrific curveball to a lefty in the bottom right corner. So it's a nasty curveball, low and away, and it was dropping like crazy. And rookie Cal Mitchell hits a line drive like 380 or 90 feet to dead center. It was just out of reach of the center fielder. Now, Cal is 23 years old. He's hitting 222 right now. But, I mean, he just willed this. He just said, this guy is not no-hitting me as a rookie. I'm not letting this happen. And so really, really tough one. And but the whole story, the big story is on Miles Michaelis. I mean, this guy earlier in the day, he's someone that 99% of people have never heard of. In fact, he was a doubleheader that day. He spent the morning walking his kids around the aquarium in downtown St. Louis. He had his 5-year-old strapped to his chest in a child carrier. And I would say maybe probably no one knew who this guy was.
Yeah, for sure.
And his story, though, is even better. He's 33 years old.
Oh, is he 33?
And a lot of people probably haven't heard of this guy.
Who does this research?
So from 2012 to 2014, he had a 5.3 ERA in baseball in the MLB, and he left. He left the MLB for 3 years, from 2015 to 17, to play in Japan, where he killed it. He had a 2.18 ERA. So he came back to the MLB. He returned at 29 years old, and he led the league in wins in 2018 and finished 6th in Cy Young. And now, he's here almost throwing a no-hitter. He's having a really, really good year. I mean, he's a great comeback story. His career looked over. He went to Japan. I'm sure he made good money, but that's not the MLB.
Yeah, he didn't get faster. He learned how to pitch.
Yeah, he learned how to pitch. He's 33, and he's still doing great.
It's amazing. I saw the replay on the late sports and there was probably 4 plays during that game that they really made some great plays behind him. And that ball coming off a line drive, the center fielder was playing normal. I mean, it was hit so quick, and it may be 3 or 4 feet over his glove, whatever, but it's a lot better. I mean, if it had dropped in front of him, they're saying, why are you, whatever. So you can't win. It was legit.
Okay, in my opinion, if you're going to get beat on a no-hitter, you want it to be a good, legitimate hit. You don't want it to be, something silly that happened, a flare hit. You want it to be a legitimate hit, and Cal had a very legitimate hit here. Again, it was a nasty curveball.
The Dodgers also had a no-hitter this week into the 9th. And then last week on our podcast, we talked about back-to-back Yankee efforts that were almost no-hitter perfect games. We talk about how tough it is to hit a baseball and how much better each year the pitching's getting, not faster, better spin rates, better control. You look at the numbers, career numbers on guys that were good 5 years ago, and we have these documents, and you see that they're incorporating more sliders now, sinkers, stuff like that, as they adjust and learn with analytics more about the game. The tough pitchers are just getting tougher. It seems like every month, every year, hitting a baseball in the major leagues is ridiculous.
Chuck, last week we did have a thing about, you mentioned the old Dodgers with Sandy Koufax and Drysdale. You said, what were the other two?
Yeah.
So the old guy checked them out, and we know their names, Claude Osteen. And Johnny Padres. And they had a great reliever named Ron Peronowski.
I should have got the 2 other starters at 68 years old. I remember them well. But
if you haven't checked this out, this is something pretty cool. The RBC Canadian Open, which is a golf tournament, concluded last week, and some very lucky fans were able to watch the tournament from 100 feet in the air. They're called Skyline seats, where fans are strapped to a floating table for 30 minutes, and they're raised 10 stories up in the air, overlooking the 1st and 18th hole. You have to look at the picture, because it looks something that's out of a movie. It looks like they're hoisted up by like a giant crane here.
That's what it is. Sitting
on a golf course, overlooking it. I mean, it's gorgeous.
I'm not trusting that thing.
Oh, it's a little nerve-wracking, but I would love to do it. Imagine being at the 1st and 18th hole, like the best spots you can be to watch guys hit those beautiful shots.
But what if you have to go to the bathroom?
You don't. Yeah. You can't.
That's mine.
They give out diapers.
Is it wrong? That's the first thing I think of. Like, what if I have to go to the bathroom?
Yeah, someone said, "Is it raining now?" What's the forecast?
They're going to drop the crane.
Large cups.
Yeah. You wonder for what emergency their protocols will they lower the bucket on this thing?
Right.
There's some built in, right? But not for that.
Yeah.
I just would have a hard time ever relaxing, being that high, held up by a crane hoist. Boy, that looks discomforting. But
it is scary. But look it up. Look up RBC Canadian Open, and then just type in like unique view. I think that'll pull up the article.
We'll put the video. We'll put it on the video.
Put it up, and you will see this just really, really fantastic skyline that these people
10
have.
stories
it's awesome.
up. It's got to be great. A great way to watch golf.
It must be.
Because you always lose the vantage point when you watch golf,
Yeah.
right? Al, you watch more than anybody I know, and they have their tee shot, and they'll hit it 360 yards, but you lose perspective because the ball's in the air, and you can't really tell. You don't watch it coming at you. You don't have an aerial view. So if you're in this bucket, you're really getting the whole thing.
It's a
the
whole
full
different
Monty
view
there.
for sure.
Don't chat if I'm missing in action, bud. Don't come looking for me. In this
Don't go
bucket.
looking there.
No, I
No.
won't
And by
be.
the way, before we get off of the golf, Mr. Mickelson shot a smooth 78 yesterday, 8 over.
Phil did? Where? At the LIV tournament?
Ooh.
Yeah.
At the Open.
Oh, the Open?
Open.
Oh, okay.
He had 78.
I don't know
Little
where Phil's at
sarcasm
now. I
there,
saw a
buddy.
video today of Phil missing like 6 putts in a row. I don't know if that was
He's
from
lost
the
a few
weekend
pounds.
or
He's got a beard
The
now.
beard
He looks
I
like
did
he's
see that.
incognito.
Yeah.
How we doing time-wise there, producer? We good?
Our last topic here today, we're going to go back to the Phillies. Something we haven't touched on a ton this year are actually their reliever stats. And since the Phillies have been hot, they had a good winning streak, I want to touch on some of the guys who've been hot recently. So just looking at the entire scope of the entire season, the best relievers this far, without a doubt, Sir Anthony Dominguez. He has a 1.88 ERA in 24 innings. Brad Hand, the lefty, 1.96 ERA in 18 innings. And Connor Brogdon, when he's been there, 2.35 ERA in 15 innings. Pretty good performance by those three guys. Once you get done those three, it really falls apart, and you can just have your pick because none of the numbers are good at that point.
Yeah, but I find this to be camouflage for the real problem. If you put all the group in and the other guys outside of the main five that they use, the numbers are just atrocious. But if you look at this, you think the Phillies have a pretty good bullpen.
Well, no, I mean, it's more
These
than
are
three
great.
guys.
Yeah,
They don't have a closer. Their closer's not in there.
Three guys can get you there. And these are outrageously
Those
good
three guys are
numbers.
very good.
Tell
Yeah.
you what they don't have either.
Yeah, check your mouth.
I think they only have the one left-hander hand. I mean,
Yeah,
everybody we play has at least 3 left-handers out
Yeah.
there, and it
Yeah.
really makes a difference later on in the
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, it does. And I'm not sure if he's the only one. I'll check on that, but that's a good point. If it is, then that really is a limitation.
And get him to throw strikes at the right time. I mean that always doesn't show up.
Amelia's still throwing 96, 97, but location. And, when they start off, how many innings did they start off later on, 8th or 9th inning with a walk? It changes the whole
And
distance.
that's been an Achilles heel for 4 years in the bullpen too. Same thing. Why do guys come to the Phillies and lose their ability to throw strikes in the bullpen?
These relievers need to watch Jamie Moyer. Go watch his old videos of him just lobbing it in there for today's standards, but locating. It's all about location. It really is.
Yeah,
Now-
Maddox for the Braves, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last 14 days, there's been some really hot hitters, and no surprise here, Harper's right up there. He's hitting 360 the last 14 days. I don't think we're going to see any 14-day span where he's not doing good because he's just been on fire ever since the second half of last year started. Hoskins, though, a very streaky hitter for the Phillies, 365 the past 14 days with a 789 slug, 19 hits in 13 games. And then our favorite guy, Kyle Schwarber, 286 batting average from the leadoff spot, 735 slug, 14 hits in the past 13 games.
Why is his OPS only 800? I'm going to stump the
I think
panel.
it's like
I'm
820.
going to stump the panel of experts, viewers. Watch this. What's missing still with him? Two things.
Well, his batting average for one. He's
Okay,
hitting like
so what's that
220.
mean? What's that translate to?
He's not putting the ball in play. He's striking
he won't
out.
put the ball in play when you need him to, okay? And you know what he does selfishly? And I've had this conversation with a couple high-level baseball players. He swings always for one thing, Al.
Home
the home
runs.
run. So he'll get his share. And look and do your research, and listeners, viewers, do your research. Try to find out how many, superstar home run hitters have a 2-to-1 ratio on home runs to
Strikeouts.
doubles.
Oh, doubles? Okay.
Because when you hit home runs, you hit doubles, not him. I believe his career numbers are like $175 home runs against 68 doubles.
Probably, yeah. I mean, Kyle Schwarber
That's
either
all he does
Yeah,
is swing for the downs.
he strikes out or hits a home run.
And that's why
him.
he strikes out
Or
one-third of
walks.
his at-bats. He's not
Or walks.
reliable. And you know what? All but 4 of his home runs haven't meant a damn thing. So
Well, that's because he's in the leadoff position. He's batting hit himself half the time. If he's gonna hit 40 home runs this year.
yeah.
Then put him in the 3 or 4 spot. I mean, look at Aaron Judge has 25 home runs this year. He doesn't bat leadoff. Alonso for the Mets, Austin Riley for the Braves, Mike Trout. all have 18 home runs. None of those guys bat leadoff. The only other home run leader this year is Byron Buxton for the Twins, and he does bat leadoff. He has 18 home runs too, but he's got some speed. You can maybe defend it a little more. There is no reason Schwarber's going to hit 40 home runs. Yeah. Put him 2, 3, or 4, or 5.
Let's examine that under the current situation with Segura out.
Yeah, exactly.
So, who is your leadoff hitter? I mean, you just don't have.
No, it is tough.
Right?
With Segura out, it does become a lot tougher.
You can't put the burn on Alex Bob. You're going to melt the guy.
You may. And Castellanos, he's been.
Oh man,
he's really struggled. So it is a really tough spot. They don't have a true leadoff hitter right now.
Because when you had Segura, and you have a Hoskins, I knew that Reese would come along. He does every year. I mean, look at his career numbers on base and OPS. Okay, so. If you had a chance for Schwarber to protect Harper, that's a great situation because they got to pitch to Harper a little bit more. If you got a guy in back end like Schwarber hitting all these home runs, great protection for Harper in the 4 spot. You got to find your 1 and 2. Of course, Segura's out right now, but he swings for the downs every time. It's selfish. If other players did it, they would increase their home run production too. It's not that I'm out to always be against the guy, but I watch his at-bats and I see his career numbers. And when a guy's doing that good, and you say, oh, his OPS must be like 950 or 1,000, it was 785 to start the week.
All right, here's what I think. If I had obviously Segura, I was very adamant he should be our leadoff hitter. With him injured now, we have to look elsewhere. I still don't think it should be Schwarber because he is such an elite power hitter on this team, and really in the MLB, he's going to have 40 home runs this year.
So you're going to say
in my
Reese.
Opinion, it's actually I have 3 options.
Okay.
You could do Reese. He's got a 335 on base, and he's hitting 250. That's not terrible.
Think career 360 on base.
Dubal, who's got a 280 average, but only a 313 on base. He gets you some speed back there. Or Didi. Didi's hitting 300. He's got a 360 on base right now. Only 100 plate appearances, but he's been really hot when he's been here.
He's been a lot more reliable. I think he's 100% healthy for the
I would say
time.
ride it. Put Didi in leadoff while he's doing this good, and then put your power guys behind.
That's
put
called dilute the
Harper.
hot hand. If he's hot right now, we'll dilute you, and if not, you'll be great.
Might as well. And if he's hitting there in leadoff and he has Schwarber and Harper behind him, that's a lot of protection right there.
A lot of
Pitchers
protection.
don't want those guys on base when they're hitting that many home runs.
When that lineup rolls over and you're bringing the relief guys, now you got a troublesome situation.
Yeah.
Well, they had an interview last week with Nola after a game, and you know how quiet he is and so forth. And they talked about Hoskins, and Hoskins has been on fire. And Nola said, "Yeah, well, I'm used to Reese having game-winning hit." And all of a sudden, the stat came on. That was his first walk-off. That surprised the heck out of me.
Are you going to turn us into your rant? Because it's rant time. You hear the music? Go, buddy. Ran away. What do you got?
Rant might be Aaron. I know you're a quiet dude and all that stuff, whatever, but you can't say Reese, you're used to having him hit, game-winning performances type things. But and they said right after that, back in the studio, that it was the first time it sort of, 2 minutes after he made that statement. But get back to the rant with Schmitty. You're 100% right with that. And we've noticed, and I've noticed on those Sunday afternoon games, saying things, and I think the people he's working with don't say anything because it's Smitty.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to keep it short. The knock on Phillies fans compared to Eagles fans, goes on and on and on. You're comparing, 8 or 9 home events attendance-wise to 81. That's a joke in and of itself. Philly fans have always been loyal. Look at the years they sold the stadium out. And you have people like Gaskin say, oh, there were 3,000 people missing. They fledged it over. I think the attendance is up 10,000 per game so far this year to 28,000. That's admirable. That's very impressive. And if they continue to win, they'll be way more than 28,000. Philly fans have always been loyal, always supported the team. There really is no drop off. But what they don't support is poor performance. That's my rant.
Yeah, well, I like it. Well, I don't have a rant this week, so I'll close us up.
Oh, I got a rant.
Oh,
Jimmy,
Jim's got one.
Substitute
All right, Jim.
pinch hitter
Hit
rant.
us.
Go, Bob.
Flyers.
Oh, my Lord.
Flyers. Why are they going with retread coaches? I mean, they paid an outside company, God knows how much money to say, Barry Trotz is your guy, and they couldn't get him. So they said, okay, we'll just get the next best guy. Go with a young guy. Go with somebody unproven. Go with somebody who can grow with these young players. Look at John Cooper in Tampa. He was right out of the AHL. Now look at him. Best coach in the league. He's going to have possibly 3 cups in a row.
But Jim, the opposite of that is, how about Dave Hextall?
Doesn't matter.
Well, yeah,
They
I
have
mean,
the talent.
you swing and miss, obviously, but I mean, you got to take a shot. There's plenty of young guys out there that deserve the shot. Bad move by the Flyers. I'm a huge fan. Very disappointed.
Before we close, the Phillies make the playoffs, Jimbo?
I actually bet them to win the division.
Al, Coach?
I don't think so. I think
Don't think so.
No.
Okay. I'm a no because they're chasing one team, Atlanta. And what nobody wants to say is that only the Phillies could win 9 straight and lose ground because Atlanta's at 14 now and still counting. So that kind of just offsets the Phillies' great
We got the wild card.
gains. It's going to be San Francisco, San Diego, and the Dodgers.
We're only 3 games behind San Francisco.
I got it. They'll get better. They'll get
The
better.
Phillies are getting better, though, too.
Oh,
I think the Phillies do make the playoffs.
Well, the one good news is we didn't talk about it. We had it ready for today. We'll do it next week because how easy the schedule is. We have that data, and even though they play more games away, I'm doing this from memory now. They play the Nats, I believe, 17 more times, and the Marlins, which I know have given them fits, but I'd still rather play them than not. Like 14. Their schedule really is unbelievably easy. So if they beat the bad teams, they make the playoffs, no doubt about it.
Well, we'll see. I mean, Atlanta is currently on a 14-game win streak, which is, obviously longest in baseball.
kills
That's
you.
insane. It is tough to compete with that. All right, so that's the show here today. I want to wish everyone, all the dads out there, a happy Father's Day.
Indeed.
That's coming up this Sunday here. So if you haven't got a gift, make sure you get one, people, for all your dads out there and stuff. And then make sure you follow us. Speaking of Sports Podcast, our handle is speak_of_sports on Twitter. Reach out to us. Let us know your thoughts. Our email, speakingofsportspod@gmail. And our website, speakingofsportspod.com.
609-828-5569. If you want to talk to me directly, love to get you on the show, hear your sentiments, questions, ideas. We're always about improving and answering your questions. So get a hold of me. I'd love to hear from you.
Let me throw this in then. I had dinner last night with Beth Mowens. For you folks that don't know Beth Mowens, she's a well-renowned. She did just got finished the NCAA girls tournament. She does all the play-by-play. She does basketball, football, and so forth. And got a personal commitment from her that she will come on. So we're going to try and get the word out, and especially maybe to more of a female audience, because she really knows her stuff and really a neat person, down to earth.
And by the way, that's a subject it wasn't intentional, but we should be covering the World Series and how impressive Oklahoma was, and I look forward to having her on. Beth, be terrific. Yeah.
All right, thanks
That's a
everyone
wrap.
for listening. Hope everyone has a great day. Enjoy your weekend.